So, Dr. Olivier, the second question I have, what is the origin of the work that you are doing now? How did you get involved in doing the things that you do at this time?
Basically, I came here at the beginning, let's say in the year 2000, 2001, and I had previously been recycling automobiles, like 500 automobiles per hour. And yes, I made a lot of rich people very, very rich, because my clients were producing about 40,000 US dollars of separated materials that basically were all going to landfill. And so $40,000 an hour. Several of these clients were all working simultaneously. And since then, they've recovered well over 50 billion US dollars, all from material going to landfill. So there was a non-ferrous metal that was recovered right down to the last gram almost. And then there was the organic fraction, which couldn't be recycled very easily. And there I had to separate the PVC with an incredible accuracy, because you couldn't have PVC into that organic fraction of, let's say, plastic, foam, rubber, leather, all of this business. And so I was able to remove the PVC, and then they were able to take that organic fraction and use it as a fuel in cement kilns. And one client in Texas, they were able to do both. They had separation equipment, separating the automobiles, my separation equipment, and at the same time, they had a cement kiln. So they had it all combined on one site, and it was really, really exciting to see that. And then since then, that technology spread both in the United States and in Europe.
Mm-hmm. And that led you to this current...
So then I come to Vietnam on a little visit, like a little vacation, and what do I find? I see a lot of waste going to waste. Of course, it's not automobile waste, because here in Vietnam, there are little people who can recycle the automobile. It's pretty much done manually. So that's not the major issue. But I start looking at other types of waste. What is the predominant waste? Well, it has to do with agricultural waste from plants, agricultural waste in terms of animal husbandry. All the waste of these animals was being just rejected or thrown away. And then I start looking at other things like invasive plants, that are taking over large sections of Vietnam. How to combat that. And so I see all of this waste, and I can't go back to living an easy life in the United States anymore. I have to stay here. Mm-hmm. And I really think Vietnam is special because it's, okay, you might say it's a developing country, but at the same time, there are a lot of companies employing fairly sophisticated technologies, especially in manufacturing, that enable me to make all the things that the small farmers need. And so there wasn't, now I have Jolie here.
All is good.
So she helps me answer some questions too. So then it was just, at first it wasn't clear where I was going. And then very slowly over the years, you start looking at solutions. And I tell people often, these are not my ideas. These ideas were out there, but what was missing, for example, you have a scientist who writes a beautiful article on black soldier fly. Mm-hmm. But none of this information makes it down to the small farmer.
Exactly. Yes.
So they go on in the same industrialized agriculture, nothing ever changes. But this has to change. Vietnam cannot go on with toxic and poisonous industrialized agriculture. This has to change. So I have to stay in Vietnam. And I'm not going to leave Vietnam until things are really up and going. But why is it so easy in a sense? Well, if you can show a small farmer how to make $50,000 or $100,000 a year, it changes everything.
It changes the paradigm.
I don't have to sit there and convince him. What do you prefer? Do you prefer to be poor or you prefer to be rich? And of course, they're going to all say, oh no, we like the money. And money is important. You can't be sitting there in poverty anymore. Little farmers not far from where I live, you might see them making on average $175 a year. They buy feed, fertilizer, they buy fuel, all from middlemen. And let's say they produce coffee or other goods. Well, what happens? It's sold to a middleman who pays them only a fraction of the end value to the consumer. And I call this slavery. It's unfortunately slavery in a socialist country. And I want Vietnam to be truly socialist. Now, we don't deny capitalism. Capitalism has a place. But it's not all capitalism. It has to be held in balance with socialism. And I'm going to explain in a little while why, with this new form of balanced capitalism, even people can make much more money than before. Unfortunately, the middlemen are out of the picture. All middlemen involved in buying and selling are gone. They're parasites. They sit there, and some of them middlemen are even loan sharks. We want to get rid of loan shark debt. Like in that little community I was talking about, 25% of the households go from year to year without making any money at all. Why? Because they're in loan shark debt. And loan shark interest rates can go up to 800% per year. So what happens?
Perpetually in debt.
Perpetually in debt. They're slaves, and we want to change that. And I think we can. If people can understand the money that can be made through transforming waste locally, then it will happen. It'll happen, I think, in a big way. I'm fairly confident of that. And I will never leave Vietnam until I see it happen.